Welcome to the Saturday in Athens podcast. I'm your host, Seth Saunders, joined, as always, by my boy, James Kim. Homie, it's been a little while since we caught up, but there's lots of things to talk about. Exciting weekend. It is round one of the inaugural 12-team college football playoff. And, dude, it kicks off tomorrow night in South Bend. The Hoosiers heading to play the Irish underneath the gaze of Touchdown Jesus, and I am jacked about it.
Yeah, the 12-team playoffs kind of taken some juice out of all the other bowl games, which have kind of gone out the wayside. But I do need to give a shout-out to my alma mater, the JMU Dukes, Boca Raton champs last night. First bowl win in school history, so go Dukes.
Go Dukes.
But, yeah, excited for the 12-team playoff. And if rumors are true, we're only going to have this for 2 years before it expands to 14 teams. So, let's say this is the least shocking thing in history.
Yeah.
But excited about the 12-team playoff, excited about the 4 games this weekend. I mean, let's face it, we got some interesting matchups here, some non-historical matchups, to say the least. But I'm excited for it. I really, want to see how these play out.
I'm interested to get your take on these 4 games. I think they're all interesting matchups. And I think, I think in a lot of ways, too, based on the spreads, right, Vegas thinks they're all pretty cut and dry. I mean, None of the spreads are tight at all. And given what we've seen in college football this season, and look, Vegas is Vegas for a reason, so I guess you got to trust them a little bit. But, man, I just don't think it's going to go the way the spreads indicate at all, especially I'm going to give you 2 that I think the spread is nuts on. I think the spread in the Tennessee-Ohio State game is nuts, and I think the spread in the Indiana-Notre Dame game is nuts. That feels like easy money to me, which I'll probably get bitten for saying that. But, dude, I love both the dogs in that game, in those games. Number one, I think the way the matchups shake out are really good for the road teams in those 2 matchups. Man, what do you think about that Clemson-Texas game? I have zero feel for that. And the main reason I think is, who is Texas? Who are they? In a lot of ways, we're the only good team they play. Georgia's the only good team they play.
Yeah.
And they lost twice. And so it's like, who are they? Everybody keeps telling me they're excellent. And I don't know if they are. In a lot of ways, for me, they scream 2024 Ohio State to me. Like, I feel like those 2 teams are, in a lot of ways, mirror images of each other.
So I could see this game going very similarly to the Texas A&M game, but Clemson has a much better offense. So that's a difference. Klubnik's a much better quarterback than Reed. He's much more experienced. He won't put the ball in danger quite like Reed did. Reed's a true freshman. So I could see this game being much more low scoring, much more, kind of a rock fight. But I can also see it being, more like a 17-14 game, something like that, in a situation where not where Texas controls the game from start to finish, but low scoring like that game. But I think Clemson's going to put up a dogfight in this one. I really do. Not saying Clemson's going to win. I honestly don't. We'll save our picks for a little bit later. But I really see this one being a very, very close, low scoring game. I love the under.
Yeah, I think back to the season opener, which obviously was eons ago, but you think about how Clemson matched up with Georgia in that game, and really, man, the first half was even Steven. I mean, that game was there to be had for Clemson, and I think defensively they're going to be fine. Texas offensively, and maybe it's because Quinn, and maybe it's because they kind of are one track, but I don't know that they're going to put up a bunch of points in a hurry, which means Clemson's going to be in the ball game. And to your point, I do think Clemson's offense is good enough to score some points. And, man, if they can keep the time of possession battle kind of even and keep their defense fresh, I think they got a shot in that ball game. And I feel like everybody has just kind of penciled in Texas for the next round. And look, it's probably going to end up that way. I think Texas has a better roster. It's a home game. Man, I love Sark. I think he's just an excellent play caller. And so I think all those things are in the Horns' favor. It's just, man, I just have no feel for it. Because I will tell you this. I had told a couple people, not on air or anything, but just people were asking about that ACC title game a couple weeks back with SMU and Clemson. And I was like, man, I think SMU is just going to 2 scores beat them. Like, I just didn't think Clemson was any good. I'll just be straight about it. I really didn't. And they came out, played a good football game in Charlotte in the ACC title game. Because I think that SMU team is a good football team, which takes me into my next question for you is that game in Happy Valley I also have zero feel for. Like, is Penn State the Penn State offense that we saw in Indianapolis for Big Ten title game, which we really haven't seen all year? Or are they more akin to kind of what they've been, which is, if they play a really good team, not super explosive and not going to score a lot of points? Like, where are you at on that one?
Well, I know this has gotten a lot of press, but I think losing I'm not sure how to say his name, Pribula, the backup quarterback. I think that's bigger than a lot of people are talking about, because he has a lot of packages and he plays like 10 to 12 plays a game, and he is their running threat quarterback. He's also thrown for 5 touchdowns this year, but he gives the running threat from the quarterback position and allows Aller to also have that threat as well. Like, I think it was the Ohio State game where Aller was like running the ball a lot, which was unexpected, but because every time they brought Pribula in, he had that threat, and then now that completely takes that out the window. So now they're just the RPOs are just going to be either runs or passes, but you're not going to have the threat of the quarterback run anymore. And I don't know, that changes the dynamic of their offense. Aller looked great against Oregon. That's probably the best game he's played his entire career.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I don't know if we'll see him that again. It's a home game, and I'm not sold on SMU's defense. I think SMU can put up some points in a hurry. I love their offense, but I don't like the matchup of their defense versus Penn State's offense, mainly because I don't think that their defensive line can stop that 2-headed running back attack for Penn State.
That's a really good point. And I think that was the lesson of the ACC title game for me, was Clemson's got NFL guys on the defensive line. And I think SMU struggled with that a lot. So I think that's a good point. Man, it's going to be interesting. I do think Penn State is going to present some problems for them, kind of in a similar vein to what Clemson did. I mean, look, man, I think in a lot of ways, SMU is still probably a year away, right? Like, they're still building. They had a good year last year, and then obviously a great first year this year in the ACC. But I think from a roster building perspective, they're still getting there from a Sunday level guys on both sides of the offensive and defensive lines. And I think that's going to be the big indicator in this 12-team look is those matchups. So yeah, man, I'm with you on that. Did you hear what James Franklin said? I thought it was interesting. He was talking about how he's kind of like, well, I don't know that it's actually going to be like a true home game, which struck me a little bit, because he was like, the students aren't here. Yeah. We don't really run it. The CFP runs it, so it's not like a regular home game.
Which I don't understand.
I don't
understand what's the point in having games on campus if the CFP is running it.
Yeah, and I get it, man. It's their show, right? Like it's kind of like March Madness in that sense. But I do think for that first round especially, that should be the benefit, right? Like, it's our game. We earned this first round game at home. Let us do what we do, and you guys can kind of marshal and monitor, but like, let us do what we do. Like, I would just let the Penn State administration, and like, I would let them do their game day deal. And obviously there's different stuff with, like, I'm sure sponsors and all that kind of stuff. That's a different question, but dude, I don't think the game day experience should change at all. So I did think that was interesting that he like brought that up. Like,
no, I read somewhere. I think it's Ohio State that, or maybe it's at all the games. I don't know, but when Tennessee is going to have their like run out played at Ohio State when they come out.
I don't like that.
I don't like that either. It's not a neutral site game.
No, I don't like that at all.
I was shocked when I read that. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
No.
Like, I get it for the neutral site games and the bowl games, but these aren't bowl games. These are home playoff games. And like, I feel like this atmosphere is going to be like when we were in Charlotte for the Kickoff Classic, like,
so
or when we were in Atlanta.
Run me through this then. Homie, we're not going to be like game at the Horseshoe and Tennessee's going to be painted in one end zone, right? They can't do that.
No, I don't think so. But from what I understand, I don't know the percentages, and I don't know if I read the percentages, but I'm not sure if this was accurate or if this is what someone was just spouting. But someone said that the percentage allotment was going to be something like between 25 and 35% for the visiting fans.
What?
Yeah. And I'm like, that can't be right. Like, that can't be accurate. So, that's because it's controlled by the CFP. And I was like, that can't be accurate at all. Like, what's the point in having a home game? Just make them all neutral site then.
Man, that's interesting. You know, like, look, I don't have any problem with, which this seems to be what the case is going to be, that Tennessee fans are going to invade Columbus because they bought up tickets on the secondary market. Like, that is what it is. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
like,
that is what it is.
That is what it is. But I don't love that allotment to that. Like, dude, again, it should be just like a home game. So, like, whatever the split is for a regular home game, that's what it should be for the first round. Like, that's what it should be. I think that's crazy.
That's the advantage, you know.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Well, that's something to kind of watch and see. I mean, look, first year we're all experiencing it the first time, so we'll see. Where are you at on that game? Because, dude, I got strong feelings about that game.
This is where I'm at on this. Is why I'm having such a hard time with this game, because I don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like. Because if this was a true Ohio State home game, I'm taking Ohio State, not because I'm for Ohio State at home, but because Tennessee is an entirely different team on the road.
Yeah.
Tennessee's offense struggles on the road. Their defense is great everywhere. Defense travels, but their offense is not good on the road. They just don't play well on the road. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter who the opponent is, other than when they play, you know, their gimme games. It's just not they don't play well on the road. They look at Arkansas. They're an entirely different team. Nico gets rattled so easily on the road when it's a rough, hostile environment. So, and like I said, this is opponent independent. So, that's where I'm kind of iffy on this. If this was a true Ohio State home game, I would say Ohio State wins this, and it's probably a 2-score game. But if this is, you know, that allotment and then, you know, 50-50 kind of how the Dogs took over Notre Dame, which is what I think it's going to be, I think Tennessee's probably going to win the game.
See, like, for me, man, it doesn't matter to me. Here's my thing. The Michigan game is the perfect blueprint for Tennessee. Like, look, dude, Michigan controlled the clock. They owned time of possession, and they ran the football at will. And, dude, like, they had a guy you would trade for a ham sandwich playing quarterback, right? Like, you talk about the ultimate pair of shoes. Like, zero passing threat from that offense. Dude, they just controlled the game, right? So here's my thing. Why can't Tennessee do the exact same thing with Dylan Sampson? Like, I just feel like you line up, we're going to road grade you all game. And then, dude, Nico's good enough to supplement in the passing game, I think, to open it up. Like, dude, he doesn't have to win the ball game. I agree with you. Their offense is not good on the road, and the main reason is because Nico doesn't play that great on the road. But what I'm saying is he doesn't have to win the ball game. We saw that when we were in Bloomington Thanksgiving weekend. Like, I think there's a blueprint there for Tennessee, and the flip side of that is the reason that Michigan was in that position was, dude, their defensive line controlled Ohio State's offensive line, and Ohio State they couldn't stay on the field. They couldn't do anything. And so, like, what's Tennessee's strength this year? They got great defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, for me, man, it's a really, really good matchup, I think, if you're a Tennessee fan. Like, I would feel really good about it. And I just also think, and this is an intangible thing, we can't put metrics around it, but, homie, the vibe ain't good in Columbus at all.
It's not. It's not. But all it's going to take is Ohio State to jump out to 10-0, 14-0 lead, and that vibe's going to flip quick. And I know this is completely off topic, but I cannot get this thought out of my head. The fact that they're going to Columbus, it's going to be freezing. And
very cold.
When they were in Athens, I know you were at the game, okay? But I was at home watching on TV. The benches went out on the Tennessee side for a little bit. The wide receiver benches went out. And I can't remember who the sideline reporter was. It might have been Holly, but she was talking about how the Tennessee bench, was upset about it. And the wide receivers had to go huddle on with the running backs and how they were freezing. And I can't get that thought out of my head. Like, it was 50 degrees in Athens that day or that night. And I know it got colder throughout the night, but this was in the second quarter. And it's going to be 30 degrees to start the game and get colder as the night goes on. That thought keeps popping into my head. If they're freezing in Athens on a Saturday night, how are they going to survive in Columbus?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And I do think the weather piece is real. And I wouldn't even have brought that up if we hadn't just been in Madison and Bloomington Thanksgiving weekend. Dude, the weather thing's real. It's real. It's freaking cold and cold where your body knows it's cold. And I do think that's going to be a factor, man. How much of a factor we'll see, I guess, but it's going to be a factor. But I will say this. I like the Vols in this game. If I was picking, if I was betting my hard-earned green money, I would put some money on Tennessee on Saturday.
To win outright or the spread?
I love the spread.
The spread. I love the spread either way too. I'm not saying that. I love the spread. I'm not sure if they win. I love the spread though.
Yeah, here's the issue, I guess, with standing on the table and saying they're going to win outright. It's hard to trust Tennessee, I think, for me, because they haven't been here, And so I think that's a piece of it. But the flip side of it is, man, I don't trust Will Howard at all in a big time matchup like this. I really don't. And so I don't know, man. That Ohio State team, something off about them, man. I mean, there is no world where if you had told me the day we woke up, November 30th, hey, man, Ohio State's going to lose today to Michigan at home, I'd have been like, you are crazy. Crazy.
You could have told me that at the beginning of the year, and I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, after watching how the year played out and how just pedestrian Michigan has been, and if there was ever any year where Ryan Day and Ohio State are going to beat Michigan, it should have been this year. That Michigan team is not very good.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, I don't know. Something about that game is it just feels like Tennessee is going to go in there and put a whooping on the Buckeyes. But you bring up a lot of valid points. Tennessee's not great on the road. Their offense especially is not great on the road. It is going to be, dude, not just cold. It's going to be tundra-esque. It's going to be bad. Yeah, I don't know. I will tell you this, though. It may sound like I feel strongly about that game. I'm going to tell you the game I feel most strong about. Dude, this game in South Bend Friday night, I think you are crazy if you're not putting money on the Hoosiers tomorrow night. That's all I'm going to say. Dude, the matchup is beautiful for Indiana.
Yeah, it really is.
Beautiful. They couldn't have handpicked a better team to get the square up against. From what they do well and what we do well and how we can counteract that. Oh, my God. Yeah. They're set up really, really nicely, I think. Dude, Notre Dame has no passing game. None. And I think that's the thing that would scare me if I was an Indiana fan is, are we going to get out-athleted on the outside? And I just don't think Notre Dame can exploit that. I really don't. So it's going to come down to who wins up front. Dude, IU, I just think they play really, 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 really good assignment defensive football. Like, they're going to fill their gap. They're going to have hats in the right place. Like, they're just going to do what they're supposed to do. And here's the other thing, man. Who has Notre Dame played? I mean, really, in the last 3 months? I mean,
nobody.
Their
signature win is Army.
Yeah. I think that's in all honesty, I'm serious. I think their signature wins are Army and Navy.
Yeah.
And like, we love Army. We love Navy. We love the academies. And the years they had this year were awesome. All right. Navy went and planted their flag this past weekend and beat Army. Like, both had great years, but let's just have an honest Jimmy's and Joe's conversation. Like, those are not comparable rosters from a Jimmy's and Joe's perspective.
Not at all.
And man, the narrative on IU nationwide, I think is so twisted. And I get it, okay? They have not played a world-beaten schedule. They played one ranked team, and it did not go well on the road, all right? But, dude, that defense is real. And I don't think a lot of people have watched them, is the bottom line. And so I get frustrated when this lazy narrative is like, oh, it's Indiana, and they haven't played anybody, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, have you watched any of their football this year? Like, the quarterback completes 70% of his passes. They got two guys toting the rock that are averaging 5 yards a carry. They can stretch you with Elijah Surratt. They got guys at every level in that defense that are really good players. They had 2 All-Americans. Like, they're a good football team.
See, that's the thing is, like, you see, like, go back to Rourke, like, they think that he's like a West Coast quarterback. Like, he's throwing slants and he's throwing, like, screens and stuff like that. He's chucking it, like, and still completing 70% of his passes. I don't know. Are we gonna start picking games? Like, are we just gonna talk about them? Like, let's picks here.
No, let's pick. Let's start with this one. We'll keep talking about it. You tell me what you like and don't like, and then we'll pick them.
So, I keep going back to the USC game. Because let's talk about talent. So USC, even though they did not have a good year, has some NFL talent on that roster.
Sure.
So, and they were able to run the ball on Notre Dame, pretty handedly. So I think that Indiana is going to be able to run the ball on Notre Dame, and I think they're going to be able to do it pretty handedly, and that's going to open up, the middle for Surratt. And I mean, dude, we saw him in person. He's a specimen. So down on the field, just watching him in pregame, man, dude, he's legit. He is a Sunday player. So I think Indiana. I mean, realistically, I think Indiana is going to win. Notre Dame is one of those teams that can't throw the 4 pass this year, which is really odd. There's some big time teams that can't do that this year. I think it'll be close in the first half. I think it's just, Indiana's going to have to shake out the nerves, being on the road, big time environment, big time situation. They've never been there before. Neither has Notre Dame, though. Freeman's never coached in this type of situation. Cignetti, though, it's not at this level, but Cignetti has coached in big games.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to get rattled, and I think that will trickle down to his team. So he won't get flustered, so that will trickle down. And I think in the second half, being able to run the ball, keep possession, and I think this is going to be the shortest game of these 4 games because these 2 teams will run the ball. Notre Dame, that's their MO. They just run the ball, and I think that Indiana will want to run the ball this game because Notre Dame can't stop it. So I think it's going to be a little bit low scoring, but I could see like a 24-17, 24-13 type game, but I think Indiana wins.
Yeah, man, I feel really strongly about it. I think Indiana is going to win. I thought as soon as the matchups were announced, they would win. I just think it is a perfect schematic matchup for them. Notre Dame has to run the football to win. They do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They have to run. They run the ball twice as much as they throw it. Like, They made a business decision after the NIU loss. Hey, look, we're going to lean on our defense. We can beat everybody on our schedule with this defense. We are not going to turn the football over. We're going to control clock, shorten games, and we're going to win out. And that's what they did. And that was smart, okay? That's what you should do. All I'm saying is they ain't played nobody like Indiana. And Indiana's defense is going to stuff their running game. I'm just telling you. Like, this is the thing I think has gotten blown out of proportion with the Ohio State result, is that score didn't look good. And the second half really didn't look good because I think what happened is Indiana can't play from behind, all right? I do think that's real. They're not constructed in a way where they can get down multiple scores and then, hey, we're gonna go 5 wide and we're gonna rip it. And they're not built for that. Okay, so let's put that out there. And so I think it was bad circumstance against Ohio State. But homie, that game should have been 7-7 at the half. And if it's 7-7 at the half and they get to go in the locker room and kind of recalibrate and reset, I think it's a completely different animal when they come out in the second half. And then, obviously, man, Caleb Downs returns the punt. And so you're down 2 scores. And at that point, it's kind of, that game was over, right? And everybody in the stadium knew that game was over because that's not how that IU team is built. Dude, Notre Dame, I don't think Notre Dame has the players to exploit them like Ohio State could. Because again, regardless of what the results have been for the Buckeyes this year, dude, they got an NFL roster. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that roster. It's legit. They got guys. And, I just think, and I think, too, that experience is going to benefit IU come Friday night in South Bend. I think it's going to be a prove-it game for them in look, man, we have beat the doors off of everybody we played this year, except for Ohio State and except for the second half against Michigan. And, because we have an IU on our helmet, everybody thinks we stink. I mean, look, that's the other piece of this. You and I have talked about this a bunch, but, if they were wearing Michigan's helmets, what would people be saying about that football team?
One of the greatest teams ever.
They're great, right? They're top 5 team. Nobody even they'd be hosting a game, first of all.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a lot of narrative and a lot of brand bias in that, and that's fair. Okay, I think all that's real. I mean, that's the human experience. Okay, but I just like a lot of what IU does, and I will be shocked if they don't walk out of South Bend tomorrow night victorious. Dude, it's been interesting. All the Georgia fans, I feel like all the Georgia content has all been, when Georgia plays Notre Dame in New Orleans on New Year's Day, it's going to be, all this history and rematch of the national title game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, this is in no way, shape, or form a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even close. So yeah, I posted it. I may get exposed later, but I will be shocked if IU is not lining up against Georgia in Nolans at the Sugar Bowl. I think they're going to win, man. I really do. And I would not feel as confident if they had other matchups. Although I think Penn State would have been a good matchup for them too.
So, well, let's pick that one. So, Penn State's favored by 8.5 over SMU, which
that's a lot, man.
It is a lot, but I don't love this for Penn State either. It's a noon kick.
Noon kick, I know. Yeah, which again is not great for your home field advantage.
No. So, what are your end-all be-all thoughts on this one?
Oh, I think you bring up a lot of good points about SMU's defensive vulnerability, especially along their defensive line. I think that's going to be the issue. I think Penn State is going to score some points. Now, I think SMU's offense is good, man. Kevin Jennings is electric. So I think they're going to pose some problems athletically for Penn State's defense. So I do think it's going to be a good football game. I have no feel for the straight-up winner in this, but I will take SMU in that number. I like the 8.5. I do. I think it's a one-score football game. Whether that's 3 points or 7 points, I don't know, but I think it's a one-score football game. I do. But man, straight up, I don't know. Where are you at on it? What's your gut tell you? Think Nittany Lions out-athlete them and out-roster them and just kind of grind it out? Because I could see that.
My gut tells me that this is almost a carbon copy of the ACC championship, that this is just too big a moment for SMU right now. Mm-hmm. Let's face it, they're not supposed to be here.
They're not.
They're not. So This season's been a success, far and away success, as is. So they're playing with house money at this point, which makes them a very dangerous team. Franklin has everything to lose in this spot. And if SMU comes out and scores quick, his butthole is going to tighten up so much.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be on pucker alert for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I love the points. I definitely would take the points, but I can't see SMU going into Happy Valley and winning this game as they're constructed right now. Like, they just don't have it on the defensive front. Singleton and I can't remember the other running back's name. I just see them having a big days, both of them, and Penn State keeping Jennings on the bench. So I think Penn State's ultimately going to win the game. I could see them going out to a big lead early, and SMU having to come back like a 2-score lead, like 14 points, jump out quick, and then SMU having to play catch up. And I think SMU can play catch up, but I don't think they'll be able to overcome it. And that's ultimately how I think it's going to play out.
Dude, obviously different opponent, different scale of opponent, but here's my thing. If we see James Franklin against Minnesota head coach, I think Penn State wins the football game, and I don't know that it's terribly close because he coached with reckless abandon that night.
Yeah, that is true. True.
But that's not his MO, right? Like,
yeah.
I think a lot of that was not prescriptive. I think it was, we have to have this. And like, we are better than they are. And so we're just gonna
impose our will.
Impose our will. That's it. Yeah. And so, and I mean, in a lot of ways, roster wise, that's true about the matchup with SMU, no? But I think the difference is, I think SMU has the ability to score. And so that could present some problems. I think this is some brand bias for me too. It's hard to just say, yeah, SMU's going to go into Happy Valley and beat big bad Penn State. Again, I love the number, but I don't love saying the Pony Express is going to win straight up. I think Penn State will win the game, but I do not think they will cover. Let's leave it. How about that? Is that
yeah? That's. I think we're both in the same boat on this one.
Yeah, but I don't feel great about it.
No, I don't either. Like, for the record, not touching any of these with real money. Not a single one. Like, no. I don't feel confident in any of them enough to put real money on any of them.
If you made me pick one to put real money, though,
it would be Indiana.
Yes, I would put my real money on Indiana. Yes,
that's definitely how it would be. So then we got the 4:00 game in Texas, Clemson at Texas.
Yeah, what's Texas, the number on this right now?
12.
That's big, man. Yeah, that's a big number, man. Have they beaten anybody with a winning record by 12? I say that somewhat facetiously. Yeah. Maybe that's a real question to ask. They beat A&M by 10?
Yeah, they beat A&M by 10. I'm sure they've played some people with winning records.
Louisiana doesn't count.
They beat Vanderbilt by 3. Hold on, let me look at their record real quick, or their schedule. Michigan, they beat Michigan by 19.
Okay. All right.
Did Mississippi State end up with a winning record? Oh, they beat Oklahoma. They beat Oklahoma by 31.
Oh, does that really count? Did anybody watch Oklahoma?
They beat Florida by 32.
All right. With TJ Lagway or Graham Mertz?
I think that was the game Mertz got hurt and took over.
No, Mertz got hurt at Tennessee.
Andrew Warner was the quarterback in that game. Aiden Warner. Was that the game that was the game after they played us? Lagway was hurt.
After they played us. Lagway didn't play. Yeah, I don't really count. Sorry, Texas, that one didn't count. That Aiden Warren was not good. What was he like? He was like a Yale transfer or something.
Yale transfer. Yale transfer.
Sorry, man.
I couldn't remember who that was.
It's like I was talking to somebody about this. Like, it's hard for me to even count Georgia's win over them this year. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of like, I mean, once Lagway went out, I empathize with Florida fans because it wasn't even a real football game once Lagway went out. Like, yeah. So, anyways, oh man, I obviously have no feel for this Clemson team because, like, I told everybody that would listen 2 weeks ago, I said there's no chance they are beating SMU. I felt so good about it, and I was so wrong. So, like, I don't know, man. I will tell you this: I do not like 12 points. I don't like that. I would not pick Texas to cover. I'll put it that way.
All right. Well, I'll give my analysis.
Texas defense is good though. Like, their defense is legit.
Texas defense is good.
Yeah.
Texas defense is legitimate. So this is how I'm going with this. Okay. And I could be wrong because this could not play out the way that I think, and I'm wrong more than I'm right. Let's be honest. So there's a reason I'm not a gambler. So
don't tell our wives.
Yeah, don't tell our wives. So if Quinn plays the majority of the snaps this game, which he's going to play the majority, but if Arch is not playing packages, which he should be at this point, the way Quinn has played this season.
Wait, time out. This is a great point, and I don't want to lose this train of thought. Let's talk about the SEC Championship game real quick. Why did Sark not have packages for him in that game?
I have no idea.
I could not believe it. Couldn't believe it. I kept waiting for it. I was like, dude, they are going to bring Arch in and they're going to exploit us like nobody's business.
I don't know.
I couldn't believe it.
I don't know.
Do you think it's a purely like political thing? Like, if we start mixing Arch in, we're going to lose the locker room because it's like it's Quinn's team and we've committed to that and that's what we're rolling with. Because, like, dude, like, schematically, it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
It has to be. I think he's running into a Jake Justin situation with this.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Dude, that was real.
And I feel
in the locker room that was real.
I feel like in the locker room. I feel like in the fan base. Let's not be real. In the fan base, it's already there in the fan base. Uh-huh. I feel like in the locker room, if it's not there, it's festering.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this off air. In my opinion, Quinn is a more turnover-prone Jake Fromm. That's what Quinn is. Quinn has a little bit stronger arm, and we love Jake. This is not a knock on Jake, so let's not put it that way. We love Jake.
It is in no way a knock on Jake. It's just dude, Jake was an excellent college quarterback, but I think we would all admit you were not going to go into the game planning for Jake to throw 40 times and say, hey, Jake's going to win the football game for us. That's not what you're trying to do. And I think that's a fair assessment on Quinn too. But to your point, he doesn't protect the ball as well as Jake did. Like, I think Jake embodied, when he said it often, which Coach Chaney always said is, hey man, can't go broke taking a profit. Like, he would make the correct decision to not put things in harm's way. Quinn gonna make a bad throw.
Going back to the SEC championship real quick, did you have flashbacks to 2019 South Carolina when Gunnar threw that pick?
Oh my god, dude!
I did.
I was like, what are we, dude? Also on that play, if the other kid on Texas doesn't celebrate, it's pick six.
It's a touchdown. Yeah, it's pick six. Yeah.
There was nobody in the Atlanta zip code between that dude in the end zone except for Lawson Lucky. And if his teammate had laid a singular finger on Lawson. It's touchdown. Like, that was, well, first off, man, I do think in some ways, as the coaches in that scenario, you have to be on the headset. Gunner, hand the ball off. No, seriously. Like, this is not an RPO. We're not having you read the defense. It's 3rd and 100. Just hand the ball off. And we will evaluate whether we can kick a field goal or not. Like, I did not love that. Like, and as it was happening, it was like slow motion. It was like, no. Because you could just see it happening. Like, God, that was a gift. I still don't know how they won that football game. I really don't. I am overjoyed that they did, but whew,
all right, we're going on a tangent. Let's get back to Clemson, Texas, real quick.
Get back to Clemson.
Okay.
But
so, Clemson does not match up well offense versus defense in this game. They do not. But this comes down to a fact of which quarterback do I trust more, Cade or Quinn? And I trust Cade more. And not only that, I trust Cade more. I trust Cade way more in this situation because Quinn in the big spots this season has shown me nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not only this will surprise you because you know how much of a fan of Dabo am. I trust Dabo more than I trust Sark. Dabo's won big games. Sark has not.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I'm not only taking Clemson to cover, I'm taking Clemson to win.
Ooh! Boy, I love this. This is the content I'm here for right now. Man, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about it like that. And, you talked about who'd you say is playing with house money?
SMU.
Dude, I'm telling you, Clemson is legitimately playing with house money. They are not supposed to be in the playoff. Like, if they lost in Charlotte, nobody's even having a conversation about them broaching the playoff picture, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, they should play as free and as loose as possible. Like, I would be drawing up trick plays. I would throw the kitchen sink out here. Like, we literally have nothing to lose. And no one in America, except my boy, is picking Clemson to win. Which I am all over that pick. Man, boy, I love it. Now I'm rethinking myself here. God,
it just comes down to the point is like for some reason the two times that they have played big games, they don't play loose, they play tight, they play scared. And you can't play like that in big games. You just can't.
Well, dude, you could make an argument that Sark has coached on this stage already last year. In a game I think most people thought they should win, and they did not.
Yeah.
Now, the quarterback in that game I think was a little bit different.
Yes, that is true.
Michael Penix was real. All right. So, and that Washington team was real. The Washington offense especially was real. So that's maybe a little bit different. But did Klubnik and Ewers ever play each other in high school? Both Texas-born kids, right? Texas high school kids.
I don't know.
I don't know that they ever played against each other, but I'd be interested to know that because they're obviously both big recruits out of Texas. Was how long has Cade been at Clemson? 21? Or was he there in 21 when we were in Charlotte? Has he been there that long? Was that his true freshman year, or did he get there the next year?
I think he got there the next year.
22.
22.
I think that tracks better, I think. God, how things can change, right? You go into that 21 season when we go to the Dukes Mayo kickoff and DJU is like people think it's going to be the next coming, and that didn't work out so well.
Man, he's a true junior, so he would have gotten there in 22.
A boy taking the Tigers straight up. Whew. I didn't have that on my bingo card today. I'm going to be honest with you. Oh, man, I don't know. This is a hard one. I will say this. Let's
face it. Cade has had a great year. I'm just pulling up his stats. He's thrown 33 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And that's a hell of a year.
Yeah. He's had a really good year. And their defense, I like their front seven. Oh God. Well, I'm definitely taking the cover, right? There's no chance Texas winning that game by 12 plus points. It's just that's not happening. Oh man, I don't know if I can take Clemson to win straight up though. Whew.
I mean, that's fine. I'm happy being on an island here. Trust me. I'll probably be way wrong in my assessment of this. It's just I don't trust Texas. This isn't my feel that I love Clemson here, folks.
Yeah, no, I get
don't like. I don't trust Texas.
I just want you to be right now. Like, what? God, it'd be incredible. I would post that clip everywhere. My boy called this, y'all. I think I'm going to take Texas to win the football game. I do think it's gotten out of pocket though. People talking like Texas has got this, legitimate road to the national title game. I'm like, man, obviously I've only seen them play full games twice. I mean, I've seen them play a good bit here and there, but we obviously only saw them play full games against the Dogs. And after neither game was I like, whew, boy, scary football team. Like, yeah, man, I'd hate to play them again. Like, people are like, oh, they might play, and then Georgia might play Texas again. And I'm like, man, wouldn't be the worst thing. I mean, yeah. I don't know. And look, maybe some of this is a product of Georgia matches up well against them. Georgia's able to exploit their weaknesses. I don't know. I just don't. But, dude, I don't think Texas would beat Oregon on a neutral field. Do you?
No.
Yeah, that doesn't even seem questionably, man. Because here's the other thing. Dylan Gabriel, really good player. Dylan Gabriel had a really good year. And Dylan Gabriel's been playing football since 1976. College football since 1976. Dude, he's one of those guys that feels like he has been around forever. So yeah. All right, so I'm going to take Clemson to cover, but I'm still going to take the Horns to win, although I'm going to be straight with y'all. My boy has now got me seriously questioning that. That came out of nowhere. I'm so on tilt right now. I love it. All right, last game of the day.
Yeah, OSU favored by 7.5 at the Shoe, or as they've renamed on Google Maps, Neyland North, which I love.
I saw that.
Which I love. I love college football. God, I love it.
College football's undefeated, man. God, that's the best. Neyland North. That's outstanding. If somebody didn't walk in that stadium wearing that T-shirt, somebody has screwed up. Like, Neyland North. That's just outstanding.
Neyland North. Yeah.
Where are you at on this? I mean, it sounds to me like you have way more confidence in the Buckeyes than I do.
It's not even confidence in the Buckeyes. I have zero confidence in either one of these teams, but I've seen Tennessee more. And so therefore I have less confidence in them. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's because I know them better because they're SEC. I've seen Ohio State. I've seen Ohio State against Indiana. I've seen them against Michigan. And I saw them one other time this year. I can't remember what game it was. Whoever it was. Oh, it's Penn State. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of one of those things. But I've seen Tennessee like 7 times because and it's like I just don't have the confidence in them. You're right. They do match up really well with them. But do we trust Heupel to actually not get impatient and stick to the game plan and running the football?
Well, that's an excellent point. That is an excellent point. Yeah.
And I don't know if he can. He's a very impatient coach. Now, granted, he has been more patient this year with Nico than I've ever seen, than he ever was with Hooker or with Milton. So maybe he will be with this game. I like Tennessee to cover, but I know this sounds really, really stupid, but I cannot get the cold thing out of my head. And so because of that, I'm going to take Ohio State to win. I think this is going to be a low-scoring dogfight. I think it's going to come down to like the end and probably a defensive stand at the end of someone trying to go score to win the game at the end. But I think whoever has the ball last is probably going to lose because of a defensive stand. And I think it's going to come down to Tennessee, and I don't think Nico is going to be able to do it.
You bring up a valid point about Josh Heupel. Is he disciplined enough to run the football 40 times? Which that's what I think it's going to take. I think you have to run the ball 35 to 40 times to win the football game. That, in my opinion. The flip side of that is, I will say this, just because it was a different vantage point than obviously seen on TV. Being at the game in Athens when they played the Dogs, they had I thought, a really, really good offensive game plan that night. Nico missed some stuff that they would have had multiple scores if they'd hit. And that game could have gone very differently if they hit some of the shots that they had drawn up and they were there. He just didn't make the throws. And so, yeah, man, if I was them, my plan would be, we are going to lean on Dylan Sampson. We are going to lean on our offensive line. We're going to trust our defense. And we're going to say we're perfectly content winning a 17-13 football game. Now, to your point, whether or not Josh Heupel has the patience and the persistence to do that and execute that, we shall see. I am going to take him to win straight up. I definitely think they cover, but I'm going to take him to win straight up. And this may be, hey, Seth, your SEC bias is showing, but again, I just think matchup-wise, this fits Tennessee really well. Like, that Ohio State team, given what we saw and given how injured they are on their offensive line, I think Tennessee's defense is going to feast on Saturday night. And, like, dude, who was talking to us about this? Was it maybe it was Chris Marler for SEC title game, talking about how up until the Georgia game, they had not given up 20 points to any SEC opponent. They were like one of 3 defenses in history.
Yeah, 19 points was the most they had given up, and that was to Arkansas.
And so, like, I don't think any of that's changed. I think that defense is real. And I think they are going to present lots and lots of problems for the Ohio State offense. Like, look, even with all the NIL money and even with going out in the portal and getting Judkins, like, dude, didn't they both average like under 3 yards a carry against Michigan?
Yeah.
So, like, that's a problem. And I know that starts with, you've got big-time guys, including your NFL center, not playing on the offensive line. Like, that matters, okay? But none of that has changed in the last 3 weeks. So I just think Ohio State has flaws that are going to be difficult to overcome, especially with the matchup of Tennessee's front seven. And so I don't think Will Howard can exploit them vertically. I don't. I mean, dude, I know they have, even though he's a true freshman, probably the best receiver in the country, although Nick Nash may have something to say about that. But I just... Don't you think you would just say, hey, look, he won't beat us. We're going to take him away, right? If you're Tennessee's defense.
I think you can try to take him away, but it's kind of like how Marv was last year. You can game plan around him and you can try to take him away, but he's going to get his.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
He may not get 6 for $120, but he's going to get 4 for 60, and he's gonna, by doing that, you're gonna leave Emeka open somewhere along the line, and Emeka is deadly as well.
Sunday guy, yeah, 100% Sunday guy for sure.
The question isn't the receivers; the question is whether Howard can get them the ball.
I think that's the big thing for me, man. Is I don't trust Will Howard as far as like throwing. I mean, I
don't see. The thing is I don't trust Howard either. I don't trust either one of these guys.
Yeah, and it's not like I have some, I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to say Nico's any better, right? Like Nico's had problems this year. He should be better than he is, and it's not a scheme thing because, like I said, I saw it with my own 2 eyes. They had a beautiful game plan drawn up against Georgia. He just couldn't execute it. He couldn't.
The problem with Nico is I don't think Nico sees the field very well. The problem with Howard is I just don't think I think he's just a game manager. That's just what he is.
Let me throw a Will Howard theory at you. This is what I think happened with that. I think they tried to get Cam Ward. I do.
Oh yeah, I think they had Cam Ward, and then that's
Miami
why
dropped the bag in his lap.
Yeah, Miami dropped the bag, so that's why McCord left.
Yeah,
McCord left because Cam was coming, and then they dropped a bag, and Miami dropped a bag in his lap, and he spurned Ohio State, and then they were left with, oh shit, what do we do? Yep. And Will Howard was the next best option.
I think that's exactly what happened. In no world, if you are the Ohio State University, are you going in the portal and Will Howard is your first choice? There's just no way, dude. No way. He wasn't that good at K-State. Like, I mean, he was good, just fine, perfectly fine for K-State. Not any type of ricochet
pushed out. He was getting pushed out. Yeah, Avery Johnson was pushing him out.
Yeah. Yeah, and then given, I think, you see what Kyle McCord did at Syracuse, you go, what happened here? Like, because I don't think, and you and I have talked about this before, it wasn't like Kyle McCord was the reason they lost to Michigan last year. Like, they just got beat, you know? Like, Kyle McCord, I think, would have been just fine, especially in that offense. Plus, they added Jeremiah. Like, I think he would have been all right.
Yeah, I don't know. There's maybe an ego thing with Day. I don't know.
I'm telling you, man.
You know my thoughts on Dave, so.
Yes. I do think, though, that they knew Chip was going to come. They thought they were getting Cam. And so, to your point, Kyle left. Kyle's like, I'm out. And then Cam signed with Miami, and they were left with the Peckers in the wind. Like, I just, you can't convince me otherwise. There's no chance the plan was we're going to spend $20 million on a roster and we're going to have Will Howard pilot the plane. Like, sorry, man. There's no chance that's real. I can't believe that.
I mean, and who's their guy next year? I mean,
they're gonna have to portal again.
Well, you don't think Julian Sands going to be the guy, the freshman?
Maybe, but like, well, here's the other thing. Let's talk about this real quick. Dan Orlovsky, very much, let's just say, hinted without saying anything that Mike Vrabel will be the head coach of Ohio State next year.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. It would not surprise me at all. I mean, they need a complete culture shift.
I think that administration thinks they are going to lose tomorrow or Saturday, which is another thing, which I told you. Dude, the vibe is not good in Columbus. And like, I think Ohio State fans
are saying the worst thing that would happen to this team is for them
to win the national
championship, because then they're stuck with Day again.
Yeah.
And then they lose to Michigan again next year. I'm like,
well,
what?
So that was my follow-up question is like, absent them winning the national title, he's out, right? I mean, everybody in their mama knows he's out if they don't win the national title.
I think so. I would think so, unless they make it to the national championship game and like lose like in overtime. Like that's.
Here's my other thing though, right? Is who is to say that Mike Vrabel's situated to come in and be the guy, right? Like, I think people have treated that like a foregone conclusion because he was on Urban's staff, yeah.
Yes, before he took the Tennessee job.
Right? Is
that
right? Isn't Vrabel the same one that said, or was this a different coach? He went on like bussing with the boys and he told them, yeah, when I was with the Titans, I met Urban at midfield and he like acted like he didn't know who I was. Was Vrabel the one that said that or was it somebody else?
I'm not
and then
sure.
I was going, wasn't he on his coaching staff? I would have to look that up. Maybe it was somebody different.
Hold on. I'm looking up Vrabel right now for his.
I could have swore it was him that told that story. Maybe it was somebody else.
No, he was their defensive line coach from 12 to 13.
Which he was there. Urban was there then. Yeah, he was there in 13.
Yeah.
Because they won the title 14.
So he was a holdover then when Urban got there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, because he was there at 11, 12, and 13. He was linebackers coach and then defensive line coach for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, culturally, I think it's a nice fit, right? Like, if he were to be the guy that gets hired, it's just, and homie, we haven't even talked about Bill Belichick. Like,
well, I mean, I don't know if he would want to do it though. Like most NFL guys don't want to do college because college is just so much more of a grind.
Yeah, and this is my question: is everybody keeps making this argument like, oh well, college game's more like pro game now. That's where you got somebody like Bill Belichick taking the UNC job, and I'm like, is it though? Like, there's way less structure. Like, the NFL is so much more compartmentalized when it pertains to free agency, the negotiating periods, the off time, OTA. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's very structured to where you could set your schedule and like, obviously in season it's a super grind, but like those guys get a break. Whereas like, dude, there's a collective bargaining agreement. Like, there's all these things that kind of monitor all this. Whereas in college, homie, it never stops. Like, transfer portal window 1, transfer portal window 2, NIL contracts with no real cap. Who's paying the money? Like, it's just
everything's a 1-year deal.
Everything's a 1-year deal. So we're constantly evaluating roster and how we're going to manage that. Whereas, dude, the NFL, you go, well, dude, we got him locked in for 3 years. We don't have to look at that position. Dude, it ain't like that in college. College, you're going, dude, all 90 are up for grabs. And so, yeah, I think the stress level is way different. I know they're saying, well, they're hiring general managers now and all this kind of stuff and capologists and XYZ. But I'm just like, dude, I think the coaching lifespan in the college game, unless things change, is going to start to get real tight. Like, I don't think Kirby's going to stay that much longer. I really don't.
No, I think we got 5-6 years tops.
That's what I think. I think as soon as Andrew goes to college, he's out. Like, I just think.
How much longer is that?
Not long, dude. 5 or 6 years. Because what he was playing Little League this year because he was on that team that for Georgia that was on TV playing Little League baseball. I don't know what age it was, if it was 12 or 13 or whatever, but yeah, 5 or 6 years. So yeah, I don't think the shelf life on Kirby as head coach at UGA is that long. I really don't. Plus, man, I started to notice it a lot this year. Dude, he looks old. He's aged a bunch.
In a year.
In a year, yeah. But if you go back to his first year, which I know now is almost 10 years ago, but you look at his pictures when he was hired to his pictures now, my man has aged, capital A. And look, it happens to all of us, okay? I'm not saying the boys are very gray, all right? It's no judgment. I'm just saying he looks stressed.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're less than 36 hours from kickoff of round 1 right now as we're taping?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yep.
Yeah.
The inaugural 12-team playoff.
I'll be wearing my Signetti shirt tomorrow night. Go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers. All right, man. Well, we're gonna see how it plays out. We're gonna know Friday night 11 o'clock or 11:30 who's gonna be playing the Dogs. So
yeah,
that's exciting to know one way or the other. Yeah, man. Well, that's all I got for today, homie.
Yep. Good talking to you. Can't wait for the playoffs. Sure, we'll be texting a lot this weekend.
Oh yeah, 100%. Full platter of postseason fare this weekend, which is going to be outstanding. Well, all right. Well, we'll talk. Maybe we'll do a recap because we're kind of going to be on holiday. I got no work Monday.
Oh, nice.
Holiday season. Going to be excellent. Maybe the boys will slip in a Sunday or Monday taping and talk about these playoff games because I'm going to tell you this. If Clemson beats Texas straight up, we're going to tape immediately when that game ends, just so I can trumpet to the world that you're Nostradamus. Bostradamus. That's what we're going to put out there.
All right, that works.
All right, y'all. Ain't nothing finer. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.